It's good to have you here today. I'd like to know a little bit about your experience as a product manager in Godit. So here is a list of questions that I prepared for you. First, can you briefly introduce yourself?
Yeah, so my name is Ed. I work as one of the product managers at Godit. I used to work in the US office, but now I'm working in Vietnam for at least the next 6 months.
Wow, that's interesting. And what did you do in school? Like, what's your major?
So I went to school for economics, so nothing related to product management at all. And then afterwards, I worked in a bank for performance improvement, which is basically process improvement, making sure that their systems are running smoother and better, and seeing what changes we can make in order to make that happen.
That sounds amazing. But how did you know about like the product manager position, and how did you train like to be a product manager?
So that happened by luck. So after I quit my last job as a performance improvement consultant, I landed at Godit, where I was an operations associate for about 2 years. And then after talking to the head of project about one of the projects that I was doing, he basically asked if I wanted to join the product team. So I said yes. So yeah, it just all kind of happened at Godit.
Wow, that sounds amazing. It's like naturally come to you.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. Can you tell me a little bit more about your position in general? What are the main tasks of being a product manager?
Yeah, so a product manager basically strategizes about which features to build in a product. There are many ideas in this company and many ways that we can build a product. So product manager helps strategize which ones to build, and it helps create the design for how this feature should act in our product.
That sounds like a lot of things.
It's a lot of work.
All right. So what do you think is the most important characteristic of being a product manager?
For someone who has to strategize about what to build, you obviously have to talk to a lot of people in terms of what they think is also the most important. So communication is by far the most important skill of a product manager. You have to be aware of what everyone else knows and what everyone else thinks, and be able to communicate between the 2, 3, 4 groups, just to make sure that everyone is on the same page and that everyone agrees, basically.
Wow, I can see a lot of pressure there. Even like me talking to my colleagues, like we can misunderstanding sometimes. Did you like do a specific training, or like did you have to attain like some kind of like qualification to be like for this job?
No. So like with this company, I just worked with the US team quite closely. And so I think my now boss saw that I had at least some of the characteristics of a PM, and so he took a chance on me in order to become a PM. So there's no direct qualifications or like certifications that I got in order to become a PM. It also just kind of happened. So Godit has 2 offices, one in Hanoi and one in the United States. Godit in the United States has a lot of the executives, so what happens most of the time is that a lot of decisions get made in the US office, and they get reflected in Vietnam, who have many of the engineers, so they help execute these ideas. So you have to have someone who essentially bridges these 2 offices so that they're always in sync, and that's one of the major jobs of a product manager. Also because the things that are said on, for example, the US side may not be a direct translation to the things that need to be heard on the Vietnam side, so you have to also translate what's being said and then make sure everyone is staying on the same page.
Wow, that sounds really complicated. And how did like working in an office like, change your experience of like how you do the job?
I think it made me more aware of what's happening in this office, which was partially the reason for why I came over. In the US office, because there's so many changes that happen so quickly, what often happens is that most of the job goes to the product manager in order to make that translation, but it's a lot of work for just one person, so a lot of times a lot of other people also have to get involved, so that some of these requirements per se are not lost between the 2 offices. So being here helped me realize that a lot of things that happen in the US don't get translated properly over to Vietnam, and so that just like certain things have to be done better from the US side, certain things have to be done better from the Vietnam side, and just trying to make sure that everyone is on the same page.
Wow, talking about the this thing that like people misunderstand each other. Just a little bit not like directly related, But can you tell me about the most challenging problem that you met at Got It and how you overcame it?
One of the most challenging things to happen in terms of a project is something called a scope down. Basically what that means is in a perfect world, you would have someone in the US decide that we're going to build something. You have a group of people who help create the design, who help design the logic, and there's a whole process around creating a good feature. Ideally, you would then take that and give it to the engineers who would create the code, QA tester to test the product, and to hand it back. But what happens is that in the middle of this entire process, there's something called a scope down, which you basically take out a chunk of what you were supposed to do. And it sounds easy to just take a slice of it and remove it, but the amount of work that it takes to get everybody involved on a day-to-day basis is kind of insane in terms of how much work there is to be done. And on top of that, there's also how well you do it, because if you don't cut it very clean, even if one person doesn't quite understand the requirements, you can throw the entire feature off, which leads to basically you not building the product that you want and it not functioning the way you want it to do, and you basically have to do the whole thing over again. So learning how to do that really well was important, and it's something that I don't think any one person just comes in knowing how to do. It's something that you learn over time how to do better slowly by messing up a lot, unfortunately. So.
Yeah, I do see that. Like as an engineer myself, I just experienced a lot of like these similar problems communicating between teams and like how, like as an engineer, it takes like just one single feature, but like if we don't read it like carefully, it can mess up like the whole thing.
Yeah.
And so enough about the technical problems. Just how about like just one, little things like what do you appreciate, what do you like about working here?
So Got It is a startup, and I think like many startups, what I like most about it is the laid backness of the company. You do work a lot in order to get the job done, but startups have a more laid back culture. There's not so much like you must do this at a certain time, must do that at a certain time. It's mostly just you have a set of projects to do. As long as you execute it, then you're good to go. In this method, everyone has more control and more freedom to do what they want to do when they want to do it. And for that reason, I get a lot of autonomy. Like my boss knows like what I generally have to do, and as long as I do it on a timely basis, he doesn't really care like where I am or what I'm doing. Obviously, it comes with a sense of responsibility. You can't just like go off and do whatever you want, but it's the sense of like freedom that you get some sort of control of what you're doing.
Wow, that sounds really interesting. So thank you for sharing your experience. It's good to have you here.
Yeah, thank you for asking me all these questions.